This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
He's Greg down in Florida. I'm Nick here in Sacramento. 115 degrees today in Sacramento. Yeah, it's been a little hot. It's the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles, brought to you by Athletic Greens, your one-stop shopping for 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and more. Help you start your day right, of course. Well, it's here, Greg. It is the beginning of the football season. We're excited. We've been waiting. Kicks off, of course, tonight. We're recording this Thursday. It just kicked off between the Rams and the Bills. I am DVRing the football game so I can catch up after we're done recording this. But we're all excited. We're all pumped and jacked. You are in South Florida getting ready for Dolphins, Patriots, your old stomping grounds down there in South Florida. Interesting practice observations. Anything you've seen leading up to this game, Greg?
Yeah, Nick, what's interesting is that, so basically for people who don't know, about the first 10 minutes of practice are open to us with the media. And of course, Bill Belichick knows all this. And normally we don't see much at all. It's stretching, maybe some individual stuff. But the 2 days of practice, Wednesday and Thursday, that have been open to us, the offense has actually gotten to work. While the defense is doing individual stuff, the offense yesterday, right in front of us, they were running a bunch of single back, two tight end, going through running plays, but also very quick, short passes, condensed formations, bunches. Very interesting for us to see at this point. And then today on the further field, they were a little bit further away from us, but the offense busted out into no huddle, tempo, shotgun spread. Ty Montgomery is the running back. I think both tight ends were on the field. Aguilar, Devontae Parker. No, excuse me. Just one tight end. So I think it would have been Hunter Henry because Jacoby Myers was out there also. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It's something that we don't normally see out of them. Could Belichick just be doing this as, hey, I know the media is going to be out there. Let's throw the Dolphins off. You never know, at this stage. But to me, it was interesting. I do think both sort of approaches that we've seen the 2 days, the quick short passing game, single back running stuff, and then also the tempo shotgun spread. I think those are things that the Patriots are going to do opening weekend, or at least have in their arsenal to, counteract some of the struggles that they've had with the offense so far.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm expecting a lot of two tight end sets this year. Maybe I'll end up being wrong, but we thought that was going to be the case. Last year wasn't so much. I believe that's because Jonnu didn't really pick up the offense as quickly as they wanted him to. He should be ready this year, and I would think two tight end sets would be a big part of this offense, which is another reason why when we discussed it last week, the thin tight end depth chart here is fascinating to me. If you're going to play a good portion of two tight end offense, especially with Hunter Henry's history with his injury issues. So I know this has been a conversation somewhat here and there in New England, whether or not this trip was worth it to get down to South Florida early as Belichick did. Do you think it was worth it getting down there earlier than usual?
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't think it hurts things. And I think the Patriots are something like 2-7 in their last 9 games down here. They've lost three straight to the Dolphins overall. They've had a tough time with this team. And, while I don't think the practice facility is the greatest in the world, everyone's seen the picture of the one puny goalpost that's not even regulation size. That's, they're using sandbags and rope to keep it up. And it was the same thing on day 2. And do I think they had some better options around? Yes, but I think security was probably paramount in Belichick's mind. And I don't even think this is that great for that, but it's better than a lot of other options. I do think practicing in this heat and humidity for a couple days, I do think it can only help, because I do think, you could say, yeah, it was really hot in New England this summer and humid, and it was. Not only did Belichick not know that when they booked the trip, but, this week in New England, the weather has been different. It rained for like 3 straight days. Now today it was about 70 degrees. And I think that's supposed to be, it might climb up a little bit towards the end of the week, but still it's not, if they were there going through 70 degrees and then coming down in the 95-degree heat, I mean, I give Belichick credit. It's not like they're coming down here and practicing at 10 o'clock in the morning. No, they're practicing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when kickoff is. So they're simulating what it's going to feel like. And I do think, even like little things, Nick, like the amount that you sweat and like, carrying the ball with that sweat that develops on your skin, it's different down here than it is anywhere else. So if I'm Devin McCourty, do I love it being away from my family and not knowing where we're going, up until a couple of days before? No, but I think at the end of, like, I asked Devin today whether he liked it or not, and he was like, I like winning. And basically he was saying, if this leads us to a victory, I'll do anything. And that goes for his family too.
Yeah, I mean, look, you mentioned it. They've been so bad in Miami. Honestly, who the hell cares? Like, shake it up a little bit. Do something different. It's week 1. You've got the extra time to get down there. Might as well just try something new, because everything you've tried before hasn't necessarily worked. So I don't really get the big deal about it. If anybody feels like it's like this big, I don't. Like you said, I don't think there's anything that would necessarily get in the way. And I think nothing but good could come from it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't know what to try next season down in Miami. I have no idea. Maybe practice barefoot. I don't know. I don't know what you can do, but you might as well try to shake it up and do something different, because you've been awful down there. All right, let's get into this game. Let's get into Miami. When you look at the Dolphins, Greg, things to worry about with this football team if you're the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the weapons on their off. They just have so many. I mean, from the running backs, they have whether it's Chase Edmonds, and they have Mozart, the running back who used to be in San Francisco. He's fast as hell. The tight end Gesicki, even though I heard he has not had the greatest of training camps, and there's been some talk about him possibly being traded, like he's not a good fit for this offense. He's a good player, especially in the red zone. And then the receivers that you have to worry about. I mean, everyone knows about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle's in his second season, Cedric Wilson from Dallas. I mean, they even have this kid, this 4th round pick, Eric Izukanama, whatever his name is. He's good too. And so they just have weapons like all over the place. And you just wonder, can the Patriots hold up against that type of arsenal, even if it's Tua throwing the ball. So, you worry about that. And then up front, I think, not having Byron Jones, the cornerback, is a big deal. It's causing some shuffling for them in the secondary, which causes issues. But I do think the Dolphins are really good up front, with Christian Wilkins, and Raekwon Davis is back this year. Jalen Phillips, who was a 1st-round pick last year, is supposedly looking like a monster in this training camp. Ogba's a good player. So I think I worry about blocking their front and then also containing their weapons. Those are the 2 areas where I'm most worried.
To go along with the weapons, the speed. I mean, when we think about what the Patriots tried to accomplish this offseason defensively, and what you and I talked about throughout the entire time was team speed, team speed, team speed. The Patriots have been slow. They've been slow to the football. They've been slow sideline to sideline. They've been slow tracking down running quarterbacks like Josh Allen. It was this idea that defensively they had to get much quicker and have more speed on that side of the football. They're going to be tested right out of the gates, like you said, Greg. Mostert is a burner. There's no doubt about that. Waddle is a burner. We know about Tyreek Hill. Wilson has some wheels. So if you want to see if this defense is quicker, is a little bit more athletic, better sideline to sideline, especially at the second level, you're going to figure that out rather quickly here in the first half of this football game on Sunday, because they have speed for days on that Miami side. The McDaniel zone run scheme is always something that you got to be prepared for. He's from the Shanahan system. That's why they brought in Mostert, who was with him in San Francisco. They're going to run that zone scheme. Now, Is it a little bit better for the Patriots defense because they ran a little of that zone scheme in the preseason and ran it during training camp? Maybe the Patriots defense will be better prepared for that kind of run scheme. We'll have to wait and see. And I would also agree with you. I think they do have a decent defensive front. I don't think it's a top 10 front, but they got a pretty good front, and they've got a couple of guys that can make some plays. So those would be three things that I'd be looking at.
Nick,
as far as
the running game thing that you bring up, that's extremely valid, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. I mean, we're talking, not only do you get the McDaniel and the Shanahan run game, which has given the Patriots fits in recent years.
Right.
Like I remember when the Niners came in and basically it was no contest. I mean, they ran circles around the Patriots. Awful. And, even this Dolphins team last year, I think twice they ran for almost 200 yards in each game against the Patriots. And the Dolphins weren't even good at running the ball last year. And they've made heavy investments on the offensive line. They bring in the new system. They have, running backs that are good, that are upper echelon sort of running backs. And if you get too worried about Tua and the weapons, the Dolphins can just run the ball all day on you if they want to. And so, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on going in this game.
Yeah, and they brought in Armstead, right, from the Saints, one of the best, if not the best offensive lineman that was available in the free agency period. So he's their big left tackle for Tua, not blindside, of course, because Tua's left-handed, but he's on the left side there. So that was a nice little pickup for Miami to try to solidify that offensive line. Because as you mentioned, Greg, last year they ran through the Patriots. What did Nick Saban say one time? It's like crap run through a tube or something like that. I mean, they ran through the Patriots, and their offensive line wasn't very good last year, and their run game wasn't necessarily great last year. So they try to go out there, get Armstead to try to fix that up a little bit. So, yeah, the run game's something to look at. All right, now when you look at the Dolphins and you evaluate this football team, if you're Bill Belichick, what do you feel good about on Sunday, Greg?
Yeah, a couple of different things. I think there are going to be opportunities to win against their offensive line, some pressure points that they can exploit. I think the right tackle, Austin Jackson, former first-round pick, who sort of bounced all over that line. He's a right tackle now. I think you put Judon over there and let Judon dominate him for 60 minutes. I think he can do that. The center, Connor Williams, good player, but had a bunch of issues snapping the ball during training camp. I try to spook him a little bit, put Christian Barmore over him all the time, put a linebacker up there too. Who am I blocking? Who am I going to? Get in his head. I think they can exploit that. I think the two linebackers, Atlanta Roberts, who we know well, Jerome Baker, really athletic guy, but both are very hyper aggressive. And I think what the Patriots have been working on with their zone run game and boots and, play action, I think could work really well against those linebackers once they get sucked in a little bit. And then, at cornerback, you want to stay away from Howard, Zvadian Howard. You want to stay away from him. He's one of the best in the league. And, he's a guy who, when Devontae Parker was with the Dolphins, he used to dominate Parker in practice all the time. So you want to stay away from him. But, they lost Byron Jones, like we talked about. They like Nick Needham, who's their slot cornerback. They don't like their other options at third cornerback. So do they move Needham outside? Do they put somebody else in the slot? Whoever that third corner is, and, they're going to have a chance to make plays against. So, those are three areas where I think the Patriots can make some plays.
Yeah, Xavier Howard's good, man. He's, as you said, one of the better cornerbacks in football. So I would take your offensive line point, and I would kind of double down on that. And one of the things when I look at Miami that I feel pretty good about is the quarterback. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Tua can't be good. But I would say, especially if you can get him off schedule, he's not an off schedule quarterback. He is on schedule, get rid of the football quickly, slant routes, timing routes, things like that. That's what he does best. And everybody knows he doesn't have a rocket for an arm. The Dolphins putting out the video of him throwing like a 50-yard pass in a T-shirt and shorts. Whoop-de-doo. Who cares? He doesn't have a he's not a gunslinger, so to speak, right? So it's all about timing. It's all about accuracy. If you are able to get to those pressure points that Greg brought up, You're going to get him off schedule, and he will make mistakes, and he will struggle if you get him off schedule. I think that's how you slow this offense down. You attack Tua, you get in his grill, and you rush him and you press him to try to make those mistakes and try to make plays because he's just not comfortable doing that. And that's before all the injuries that he had. So I think you got to get Tua off schedule. You mentioned Jones. I don't think their pass rush is fantastic. I don't think it's spectacular in any kind of way. So, Phillips is good. Melvin Ingram, a little long in the tooth. He was available for a bit there in the offseason. I don't know if people believe that he's got a lot left. And finally, I'd bring up McDaniel. Look, yes, his run scheme could give the Patriots some problems, but let's not overlook this fact. He's coaching his first game. This is the first game as a head coach that's going to matter in front of the home crowd against Bill Belichick. So I think that also plays a role. Do I think the Patriots win just because, that's the case? No. But if I look at things that you could attack, first-time head coach, we'll see how he deals with that first game out of the gates. He might be great. He might be not so great. So the Dolphins, when you look at this spread, Greg, they're favored by 3.5. Again, of course, it's in Miami. It's the Dolphins minus 3.5. Who do you got? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Dolphins in this game. I mean, I do think there's a definite path to victory for the Patriots in this game, and I do worry about, the McDaniel factor because, as you said, I think he's a smart guy. I think, he certainly learned a lot from Shanahan, but, everybody has a plan, until you get punched in the mouth. And, how's he going to react when he gets punched in the mouth? We don't know. And we know that Belichick and whatever you think of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, like they've been through it before, all of them as head coaches. And so I do think that they have an advantage there, but I just think, these games in Miami take on a life of its own. It's a tough setting that, you can practice all you want, but going from a 2-hour practice to playing a 3.5, almost 4-hour football game against guys who have lived in this weather is something different. And I think the Dolphins just have a lot more speed on both sides of the ball. I just think they're more talented. And, so in my mind, it'll be a battle for a while, but I think in the end, the Dolphins, bowl ahead, and I have them winning 30-17.
So you've got them winning by almost 2 touchdowns. Pretty comfortable win for Miami at the end of the day from you. I've got the Patriots plus 3.5. I do think they lose the game by a field goal. I think it's 20-17. I do think they'll get to Tua. I do think they'll get him off schedule. Tyreek Hill, look, there's no denying what that guy can do with the football in his hands, and I think you'll see some Debo-esque stuff with him and McDaniel. I think they'll try to work some of that out, right? But I also think that Tyreek, one of the things that Tyreek killed teams with was extended plays. His ability to get downfield when things broke down, his ability to kind of, catch that bomb every once in a while. Tua and Tyreek are going to work because you got to use the quick slant routes and just let them go, right? And I think that's what you're going to see him do mostly. But those big plays, those game-defining – I remember Ravens, Chiefs a few years ago. It's like a 4th and 17. I think the game was in Baltimore. Mahomes extends a play. He rolls to his right to the hash mark. He throws it across his body, across the field to the left side, and Hill comes down with it and ends up getting like a 30-plus yard gain out of it on 4th and long. Chiefs end up going on and winning that game in Baltimore. Those were the backbreakers. Tua is not that guy. Tua is not Mahomes. Tua is not going to extend the play. So I think you've got to keep everything in front of you. You've got to be mindful that they might take an occasional shot just to say, hey, we can at least throw the ball beyond 35, 40 yards. Keep it in front of you and make this a physical, demanding kind of football game and get into Tua's, kitchen, so to speak. I do think Miami wins, but I think it'll be tighter than you have it. Again, 2017, give or take a couple points here or there. If I was going to just throw a couple bucks on it, I would go Patriots plus 3.5. All right, before we get to more Patriots thoughts, we got to look at this season. How do we feel where they'll end up? Are they a playoff team? Are they not a playoff team? How's the rest of the NFL shake out? And as you sit back and enjoy Greg Bedard's very Miami polo that he's wearing with the floral pink, his face has got some sun on it. You can tell my man's down in Florida right now. But we got to get to the athletic greens, tell you about that. Then we're going to come right back and we'll jump into Patriots big picture for this season and the rest of the NFL.
I started taking AG1 because I wanted to make sure I was getting all the vitamins and nutritional supplements that I needed in one place. Now I've been on it for 2 months now, and I love it. Even brought it with me on my trip. They have these nice little travel packs. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It's kind of a mild tropical taste, a little minty, and I actually look forward to it each morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things you're looking for. I take it first thing in the morning. It's now part of my morning routine, and I'd be lost without it. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bedard. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Bedard, BEDARD, to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
AG1, baby. Athletic Greens. Again, that code is BEDARD. Talked about the game on Sunday. Let's talk about big picture now. 30,000 feet, Greg. What do you think this Patriots team does this year? Where do you have them finishing?
Yeah, I went through the whole schedule, sort of, went through my little season prediction thing, and I have them 8-9 this year. I think there are definitely a couple swing games. What surprised me, Nick, when I went through it, and I went through every game the whole week, and you're just guessing, here and there.
Yeah,
but
of course.
What was amazing was, I'm looking at as you go through, you can see the conference standings, the divisional standings, and you're going through the year, and there are a bunch of teams in the AFC that are really good. It could roll up really big numbers. I have them 8-9, but just for example, I switched a couple of games. I had them losing at home to the Colts, and there was the Vikings game on the road in Thanksgiving that I had them losing, and I switched those games, and it still didn't get them into the playoffs. And, even if I switched the Colts game and the Raiders game, which I had them losing on that West Coast trip, it still doesn't get them there anywhere. It's stacked from I had the Bills 14-3. The Chiefs, the Colts, the Ravens, the Raiders, the Bengals. The Chargers are 11-6, and teams like I have the Dolphins and the Titans at 10-7, just missing out. Broncos are 9-8. They miss out. It's a tough road to hoe in the AFC this year, and that's why I think, to me, the most important games this year are going to be the conference games, because I think it's going to come down to there's going to be a lot of teams jumbled together. Even if the Patriots have a winning record, it's going to come down to tiebreaker. That always starts with the conference record. And my first pass through when I had them 8-9, I had them 5-7 in the conference, and that's not going to be good enough. They're going to have to sweep the Dolphins. They're going to have to win against the Raiders and the Colts and these other swing games in the conference. And so, to me, I have a hard time detaching myself. I'm not saying it's going to be an outright disaster or anything, because these guys will coach them up and they'll do, what's needed on offense. But I just have a hard time believing in the changes that they made on offense, that it's going to take hold quickly enough. But I do think, I have them with a 1-3 start, but then I have them winning 4 straight and them actually ahead of Buffalo in the standings. And I'm sure people will get all geeked up, but man, that close of the season is something else. I have them at 5-3 and then going 3-6 the rest of the way. And so we'll see. Everyone knows they have that easy part of the schedule. Then what do they do coming down the stretch? Could they be a good team by then? Yeah, they could. We'll have to see.
Shocker, you and I are pretty close. We were pretty close last year. We're pretty close this year. I've got them 9-8. I've got them, just breaking that 9-8 there. It's tough to see them get to double digits. It's tough to see them get 10. Maybe they find a way. I would not, listen, I would never doubt Bill Belichick. He could always figure something out and get this team to 10 wins. But I feel comfortable looking at 9-8. I think their floor is 7-8 wins. I think their ceiling is 9-10 wins. That's kind of how I would look at it. So I agree with your general assessment of there's some swing games there, but 9-8 feels like a comfort zone to me. The AFC, you went through some of the teams. We'll go in a little bit more in depth in a minute, but the AFC is it is a beast. When you look at these two conferences, it is tough to find, 2 teams, 3 teams in the NFC that you feel really good about, that you say, oh, they can win 12, 13 games and make a spectacular run. The AFC, you could argue 4 or 5 teams can have a season like that and make a run like that. The AFC is really deep and really talented this year. The division is better. I have concerns about the offensive line, and until I see Trent Brown several weeks in a row play at his level from a few years back, I'm not going to feel super confident about him until I see Isaiah Wynn get his ass straightened out and be out there and doing some things. I think the O-line is a question. The offensive staff is a question. I agree with you. Maybe Belichick, I'm sure he'll figure things out as the season goes. Maybe he takes over play calling eventually. I don't know what that's going to look like and feel like. But to start, the offensive staff is a question. And cornerback, look, the rose-colored glasses, you could say, oh, yeah, Jack Jones, he's got a ton of talent. He can end up making a difference if Jonathan Jones doesn't work out on the outside, if Jalen Mills isn't as good as he was in the preseason. But I think you have questions. I've never been a huge fan of Jalen Mills. We'll see if the preseason stuff and training camp stuff transitions to the regular season and he plays as well as he's played over the past couple of months. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Jonathan Jones on the outside is a new experiment. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, yeah, no, they've got everything figured out. And you've got 2 rookies that you're going to depend on an awful lot as well. And you got Miles Bryant, who is a very small dude. And I think he'll be okay in the slot, but you got questions at cornerback. So I've got them at 9-8. All right, let's run through the playoff picture here. Let's start with the AFC, Greg. Your division winners in that conference.
Yeah, I have the Bills, the Chiefs, the Colts by 2 games over the Titans, and I have the Ravens by 1 game over the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to sound very similar. It's going to be a familiar feeling. I've got the Bills in the East. I've got the Chiefs in the West. I've got the Ravens tight in the North. That division is going to be, pretty interesting to watch. And I have Indianapolis. I'm pretty high on Indianapolis this year with Matt Ryan. And I just feel like Tennessee is on the downward slope. So yeah. I've got Indy. I've got Indy in the South as well. So we have the same division winners. Let's jump to the NFC, Greg.
NFC, I have the Bucks with I didn't know it was going to come out this way, but I had them 15-2. I have the Niners winning the West. I have the Packers winning the North, and I have the Eagles winning the East at 13-4.
So very similar again. I've got Tampa. That division sucks out loud, by the way.
Yeah.
The NFC South is brutal.
People are like high on the Saints. Do you see that? Like people are like, I don't see it either.
No. So yeah, that division's not very good. And we just talked about this, right? And this is going to bear it out as you kind of think about these teams and these division winners. So the South is not good. The North isn't very good.
No.
I don't know what to expect from Minnesota. Chicago, I don't think is going to be good. I don't think Detroit's going to be good. Dan Campbell's crying during training camp practices. What the hell are we doing there? So the North isn't good. The East, Carson Wentz with Washington. Not going to get excited about that, right? You've got Philly, Dallas, and everybody else in the mix there. The Giants, I'm not a believer in Daniel Jones. So, Brian Daboll taking over. Good luck, Brian, with that. So I've got Philly in the East. I've got the Rams in the West. The West is the best division.
Yep.
I've got the Rams. I got the Rams in the West. I've got Green Bay like you do and Tampa like you do. All right, so let's look at the wild cards. So we know the AFC. We agree on the division winners: Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Indianapolis. Your 3 wild card teams, Greg.
I have 2 out of the West: the Raiders and the Chargers, and I have the Bengals in the North.
What he said.
Nice.
I have the exact same thing. I'm pretty high on the Chargers, man. If
I just don't believe in Staley enough.
I know, I was just going to say that. If it wasn't Staley, because that team is so talented, they bring in Mack now. You've got two legit pass rushers, that are just going to eat people's lunch. If Derwin James can stay healthy, which he hasn't been able to do, but they have a lot of talent on that football team. I think Herbert's just going to be fantastic, spectacular this year. Austin Eckler's really good. The receivers are really good. I really like the Chargers, but yeah, Staley scares me a little bit. So that's why I went with Kansas City. Vegas, I agree with you. Chandler Jones has to stay healthy. Max Crosby is a stud. They have questions in the second and third levels. And they also have a question, they got a number of questions on the offensive line. So I don't think it's going to be a picnic. No. But their offense, their skill position players, we talked about this last week, are so good. I think Vegas sneaks in, and I do like Cincy. Joe Burrow's just too damn good, and I think that they'll take a slight step back this year, but I do like Cincinnati. So I've got the same three wild cards, NFC wild cards.
I have the Saints, Rams, and Cowboys.
Okay, so I flipped the Rams with the Niners. So you have the Niners winning the division. I have the Rams winning the division, but I do have the Niners getting in. I talk, about the Niners every day out here in Sacramento. The big questions: interior offensive line. They got three new faces, and Trey Lance is obviously the biggest question. What to expect from him? They've had some injuries in the secondary. That could be a problem, but their defensive line should be okay. Their linebackers, you could argue, the best linebacker tandem in all of football. And scheme-wise, they've always been able, even without Saleh. They didn't, D'Amico Ryans did a good job last year. So, their defense should be good enough. And their run game with Shanahan is always good, no matter who the hell. I could run the ball and maybe get 800 yards with this offense. So I got San Francisco. I've got Dallas, even though I'm not a big believer in McCarthy. But I've got Dallas. And I don't know, man. To me, you got New Orleans. I got Minnesota. Do I feel good about it? No. I'm sure you don't feel great about New Orleans. But that again speaks to what we've talked about, the conferences. If you look, I mean, come on. Out of the teams, this will lead to our Super Bowl conversation pick. But out of the teams in the AFC and NFC, if you look at it, I look at the AFC and I say, you could argue 5 or 6 of those teams could win a Super Bowl this year. Could. Kansas City, you would say they could win a Super Bowl, right, Greg?
Yeah.
Buffalo, obviously, could win a Super Bowl. I don't think it's crazy to think that, the Colts could win a Super Bowl. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Ravens, if they can create some kind of a pass game in the postseason, could win. Mm-hmm. The Chargers, I think, are a dangerous team. And you've got the Bengals, who were just there last season. I mean, you could argue, 5, 6 teams. The NFC, not so much. It's so clear to me when you break these conferences down, which one is the better conference. And unfortunately for the Patriots, it to me is by far the AFC. All right, Super Bowl pick. What is your Super Bowl pick, Greg?
So I have the Bills over the Packers. I mean, look, I gave up on Josh Allen. Not that, we've been certainly over this a lot, but I just needed to see Josh Allen become, obviously I never denied his talent, but it was, and look, between the win game in the first half in Tampa last year when they were down 35-0, it looked like him and the Bills were done. But what I saw from him in that second half at Tampa, where he almost brought them back to win the game, and that sort of springboarded him and the team to the rest of the way. He won me over down the stretch. He took the next step, and he was always very good, very talented, but he took the next step to be elite. I just think, you add Von Miller into the mix. They do have some issues at cornerback. I'd be interested to see Kaiir Elam, the rookie who the Patriots passed on, how he developed this year. He could be the key to them winning big while the Patriots have cornerback issues all season. I mean, that could very well be the case, but I just think I think the Bills are that talented, that good, that I think it's their time. It's now or never for them, and I think it's their time.
It's now or never. I've got so I'm going with Buffalo too, man. It drives me crazy to pick the Buffalo Bills, but I think they're the most complete team in the AFC. I think they're the most complete team in football. I've got them beating the Rams. The Rams were kind of I'm left with who? Right? Like I can't pick Jalen Hurts to bring the Eagles to a Super Bowl. I think the Eagles are better. I think they win the division, but I can't do that. I can't pick Aaron Rodgers, not only because of history, but I think this is the most pressurized season for Rodgers since he took over as a starting quarterback for Favre. Like, there are major question marks at receiver. Allen Lazard was supposed to be his number one. He might not even play this weekend. You've got Randall Cobb and a bunch of rookies and young guys. Sammy Watkins is there, but Sammy has not ever been the Sammy we thought he was going to be. So there's some questions with Green Bay. They lost to Darius Smith. And then you look at Tampa. I'm not going to doubt Brady, but they've already gone through a couple of significant offensive line injuries.
Yep.
Godwin's coming back from an ACL tear. There's no Gronk. So I think they've got some questions as well.
I mean, even Brady, with whatever he's going through off the field, he's now starting to look his age, where he always looked about 35 in training camp going into the season. And then, you get ready for the inevitable aging. But like now he looks like he does at the end of most seasons already. How much is he going to have in the tank this year?
It's a big question. I mean, we know Brady as well as anybody in the country knows Brady. He's not a guy that skips out. He's not a guy that misses training camp time. He's not, the optional stuff. Yeah, he did that in New England. But when mandatory training camp starts, the preseason starts, this is the dude that's in the building. This is the dude that's around. He wants his reps. He grabs him by the throat. He doesn't want anybody kind of sneaking up on him. And he took a couple weeks off. And look, we don't have to get into the personal stuff because I don't think it's fair, quite frankly, what's going on. I don't think anybody needs to sit there and pontificate about his marriage. That's going beyond where you need to go. So whatever the situation is, he took a couple weeks off in the middle of training camp. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some questions about, if you stay away from the marriage stuff, it's all from just the retiring and then unretiring. So how's he feeling about that now? Is he having a little bit of regret? So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Again, hopefully he's able to work on the personal life and everything goes well for him. Football wise, I do think there's some legitimate questions, but he's always just kind of proven everybody wrong. So until he stops playing great, I'm not going to doubt the guy. I do want to just say thank you to everybody who watches this on YouTube and everybody who listens to this. If you follow Greg on Twitter, and I'm sure you do if you're listening or watching the podcast, Greg shared a note last week about the podcast and where we kind of were last year compared to this year with a research project for, that was released. And we've seen some significant growth with this podcast. We jumped up 1/3, I think it was, right? So as far as the percentage of people that think about us when they think about Patriots podcasts, and that's all because of you. And, I don't want to speak for Greg, but, he gave me this opportunity and I have a hell of a great time doing it with him all year and every year. And it's the reason why I had this thing put in my contract when I moved out here to Sacramento. The only thing I had put in the contract, I said, you better put Greg Bedard's Patriots podcast that I can continue to do that. So thanks to everybody who watches and listens. And thanks to this guy, the floral wearing, red faced AT&T. If you're watching the podcast, the AT&T agent next to me. Thanks for the opportunity, my man. I consider you a friend. And, yeah, it was exciting to see those numbers. So if you want to say something and take a bow, do it now.
I just want to say, thanks to everybody. I mean, we went from like 6th place last year to 2nd in the New England Sports Survey out of all podcasts, not just Patriots podcasts, all local podcasts. We're number 2. Tom Curran, we're coming for you. You're next on the list, buddy. Yeah, it's great. It's great to see, and I was also honored with climbing up the writers list as well. being tied for third and up in my percentage. So thanks for everybody for listening and being open-minded to listening to, giving you the truth and not just blowing smoke up your rear ends, like giving you the truth about your team. We'll do that, good, bad, or ugly, no matter what happens with the Patriots this season. It'll certainly be interesting, and look forward to having you guys along for the ride.
Yeah, you guys and gals kick ass. Let's get to the BostonSportsJournal.com member question of the day. $39.99 on the annual plan. You know the spiel. You can read all the writers they've got. Connor's great. Corrales working. The Celtics. Gallinari tearing his ACL. Hey. Check them out, though. Of course, you've got Greg football season out. Video analysis, coaches film.
The breakdown, baby. The breakdown, baby. The breakdowns on Tuesday and Wednesday with video. I mean, if you want to know what happened and why with the Patriots, you got to read it. Sign up.
It's great stuff. So let's get to the question, Greg. What do you got for us?
So VA Ronnie said, he talked about the offensive line, but then he got to his question. Will all the investment in team speed on defense bear fruit this season? I think it's a great question. I think first you need to, a lot of it we don't know. Like, do they have faster players? Yeah. How many are going to play this year? Like, I think if you're looking for spots where they're hoping to upgrade this year, you're looking at linebacker next to Juwan Bentley. So is that going to be Raekwon McMillan? Is it going to be Mack Wilson? Is it going to be by committee? All those guys can run. How is it going to fit? Are they all that much faster if Juwan Bentley's on the field, which he will be, just voted a captain? In the second, at safety, Kyle Duggar obviously has speed. Will they unleash him? Will they figure out ways to use him more? Will they incorporate Josh Uche and Anthony Jennings? Will those guys up the speed in terms of pursuit of the quarterback? I mean, I think they do have pieces. At the end of the day, Belichick tends to rely on veterans and what he feels comfortable with. So I do have some questions about how much faster they will be, especially early on in the season. So, I mean, great question, but I think there's a lot to be determined in terms of their defense and team speed and how they utilize that.
Yeah, and as I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, this team coming up on Sunday, we'll see it early, right? I mean, they got to go against a very fast, very speedy football team, very speedy offense. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm happy. I'm pumped. I'm jacked. Football season's back. Greg, the guy breaking down everything. You want to see him on Tuesdays. You want to see him on Thursdays. You want to check out BSJ, BostonSportsJournal.com. We're going to do this podcast now twice a week because the football season's kicking off. I'm excited about that. You get double the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast now as the football season goes. Brought to you by Athletic Green. He's Greg. I'm Nick. We'll see what happens on Sunday. And, of course, next week we'll have all of your reactions.